everybody, and good evening, and welcome to my second connection, and welcome to the 8th installment of I Am Human. This is an interview show in which I interview other psychic practitioners or metaphysical practitioners, however you want to call us, where we talk about the inner workings of our life and how we kind of navigate the world with the abilities that we have. It's a very complex systems of thought, if you want to think about it like that. However, if you have any questions for our guests, go ahead and leave them in the chats down below if you're watching through Facebook or YouTube. However, I would like to introduce my very, very special guest. I'm so excited because this is our first one-on-one conversation ever together. Ooh, words. But please help me welcome the beautiful Cassie, the card slinger. I'm so excited. Welcome.
Hello, my darling. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here because I've been kind of this fangirl of yours from a corner for a while. The running joke here is that you are my girl crush within the
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
I think it's the opposite aesthetics because you are very in the dark and I'm very over here pink. And I love when people have the opposite aesthetic from me. So I eat it up. I love it. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, yeah, this is wonderful. We should do we got an in the light, in the dark type dualistic theme going on here. I don't know.
That would be a fun show one day if we guest on each other's show one day.
Absolutely.
That would be a fun little idea.
Yes.
Although I think you're more mentally in the light than I am. We have opposite aesthetics, but opposite ways of going about it. So that would be hilarious because I think I'm a lot more apathetic than I let on.
I see. Yeah, we could just be a whole mixed bag of the light and the dark.
I like that. We're going to have to plot that out. But if you feel so inclined, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience? Tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. And yes, so I am Cassidy the Card Slinger. If you have not met me before, I was just talking to Journey and Bunny right before the show started. And as of November 10th will be my 1-year anniversary on my Psychic Connection. So I've been here for almost 1 year now. And yes, my business name reflects my passion and the craft that I want to continue diving into forevermore. And I read all different sorts of cards, so it's kind of a running joke I have that if you give me any bits of paper, I will divine with them for you. So tarot is largely my workhorse. I work with Lenormand cards, oracle cards. I read runes. I read playing cards. I like a whole number of different card systems, and there's a few others that I'm still studying and working to learn as well. But in my personal and professional practice, those are sort of my main systems. I've become a bit of a collector of cards as of late as well. So I have a healthy deck collection. And if you want to see any of those on our YouTube channel, check out the card of the day that is going on every single day. And yeah, I really have a passion for providing readings and providing truth to other people who need answers. I am very much so I would say a practical and pragmatic card reader. I could also be considered, I would say, the least spiritual person because largely I'm just quite analytically minded. I'm very practical. I'm very based in this world and in this space. So I would say my reading style and the clients that often come to me are coming with real world concerns type of things like that. But that's just a little bit about myself. I absolutely love reading cards, and I'm really excited to be here with you. So thank you for having me, Bunny.
Oh, you're so very welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And I like how you kind of described yourself as the most non-spiritual person. That's interesting to me because I get that. I kind of am on the spiritual side, but then also I'm too tired. But I think that's just because I'm lazy. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a super analytical thinker. I'm just tired.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So are you ready for some questions?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. Let's go for it.
All right, let's get into it. So you did mention that your main gifts involve card slinging. That's my name for it now. I've stolen it. We're just going to call it what it is because I love that so much. But your main form is through tarot, but do you have any other gifts as well? Or is that something you've not truly explored 100%?
So interesting that you ask. Okay. Well, we're interviewing me, so we're getting, I would say, my honest opinion on the topic. So, where I'm to give a little more context to me saying I'm the least spiritual person is that for once for and I'm only talking about my own self is that I don't love the term spiritual gifts just because in my particular case I am using a tool, I'm using cards, and it has been, I mean, many years, many courses, many hours, hundreds of thousands of hours in readings. So I personally would consider my card reading practice a skill, which you can completely argue and say, well, certain people have different aptitudes for certain types of spiritual practices, and therefore would that not be a gift? And I would have to agree with you. So I just had to throw that in there on my my opinion on the term gift when you are someone, because I feel like there's sort of different things, right? Like a gifted individual might be someone who had an innate ability that they worked to fine tune and cultivate and make stronger for themselves. But that to me would be more of a gift, whereas I consider myself a skilled card reader because it is concerted effort over many years of trying to learn how to work with these cards. But thank you for for that question, where you're asking about gifts in regard. I think I'm quite a talker. I naturally don't shut up, which can be, some people might call it a gift. And I would say people feel quite comfortable around me very quickly, and they have for a very long time. Even when I was little, like I don't have some super cool psychic young experience story to share with everybody, but I remember, I mean, people asking me advice when I was way too young to give it, like asking marriage advice from like an 8-year old, or people asking me about, like, I was the 8-year old. People would ask relationship advice when I'm like, don't have a boyfriend. Like, even friends my age, I just really have drawn in people's questions and have sought my guidance or advice for as long as I can remember. So you could potentially call that a gift as well. But largely that is what I do. I'm not a psychic medium. I say that on my show all the time. So something I have not, well, for other people anyway. I don't professionally perform that service, but largely, like, I really just love my cards. So I try to funnel the majority of my spiritual practice surrounding working with my pieces of paper. So
I respect that though, because I think that is kind of an important distinction. Like you said, some people are kind of born with the innate gift, and some people work to hone the skill. And so the fact that you can kind of separate yourself from that while still giving yourself the credit, because you did work very hard to gain the skill that you do have, I respect that. Not
it's
many people can say that about themselves
and
and be
it's
so honest about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's important for me too to make that distinction, because if anyone ever comes to me and says they're interested in card reading, well, first of all, I lose it and get so excited and sound like I am a pyramid scheme salesperson of getting into card reading. It just goes completely absurd. I want it to be something, people can realize that it's a skill. It is something you can practice, you can hone, you can learn for yourself. It's not something accessible only to certain people. Whereas certain gifts or abilities that people have, seeing auras, that's not something I don't know if everybody can do that. Or there's certain abilities and skills that are, different people experience in different ways. So that's one of the reasons I like to call it a skill, is because everybody can access it, and everybody can work to create that for themselves if that's where they want to go. So
Mm. That's honestly, that's fair. I like how you explain that. That's something I've never really been able to put into words for others, because I feel like I was just kind of born into this. I just had the
Mhm.
innate skill. So
Yeah.
from the other side of the coin, I feel like that's really interesting. And I say that because, especially in the social media age that we're in now, a lot of people are kind of picking up decks of cards and then boom, I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm a card reader, I do all this other stuff. And I've always been very conflicted on how people describe themselves, because it's like, oh, I mean, maybe you can read the cards, but we're giving ourselves very big titles kind of just off the cuff. And
Mhm.
so it's been something that's a little bit, how to say it, complicated for me to mentally parse together. So hearing it from your flip side of the other spectrum, I really appreciate that,
Mhm.
because this is a skill. This is something you do have to hone. This is something that you don't always just wake up and know how to do. Even I had to learn how to read cards. I was taught how to read cards.
Right.
So when you explain it this way, that actually makes a significant amount of sense.
Great.
This is
Thank
why
you.
we need the logical people here because
It's just seeing I'd say the same thing from a different perspective, right? And I do certainly believe, if someone asks me and comes for a reading or what are my gifts, I will read for that question all day long because
right.
there are, one of the examples I give is like, I come from a family of insert whatever your family has done here.
Right.
Mechanics, carpenters, and it's like you do not want to see me with the toolbox. Like it just because there is some sort of either inherited aptitude within your family doesn't necessarily mean that you have that as well, or if it's not there that you don't have it either. If you're not a 10th generation psychic, it doesn't mean you can't also learn and hone these skills and abilities for yourself. So it's kind of, I don't know, I have so much respect for, and I just love hearing about people who have just had something so powerful within them that they've got to discover, as opposed to, for me, it came through, I'm going to work at this thing, and then things sort of fell into place. So yeah, it's kind of
But can I give you an opinion? Because I really feel like your intuition is strong. And that can be a gift in itself because, they say common sense ain't common, and it really ain't. But to have that intuition so strong, that common sense is there for you. And so when you have people who are coming up to you as a child, asking you crazy questions as a child, there's that almost intuitive edge that you do have. It's like you have an internal knowing. You don't really know where it comes from, but you use your card reading in combination with that. So, in a way, yeah, you can argue you do have the gift, but from my perspective, your intuition is really strong, especially about how you see people. I feel like you read people quick. And if you don't vibe with them, you're done. You're like, all right, gotta go. Bye.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's sort of another reason why I think you need spiritual friends around you in this space, because they will see the blind spots, because by definition a blind spot is what you can't see for yourself. So I'll even sometimes read cards for my own blind spots, but like it's through conversations like this where I can definitely get stuck in my own head and my own perspective, but my mind is always open to hear what other people have to say, especially people who are well established and people that I respect in this field as well. So yeah, thank you for that. It's cool. I love this. This is can I come on your show again? We're like 10 minutes in, I'm like, I'm having a ball.
No, of course, of course. Like we should just start doing readings together because I think that'd be fun. Because I think we're opposite but similar, but also opposite. It's a very opposite attract situation here. And then also because after your interview, we are going into round 2. So this is going to continue. This is going to keep going on. So we have many more times. As long as you're free, I will always throw you in here.
Awesome. Good. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
So now I have to ask you, what age did you start like developing your skills with cards? Like when did that become a thing for you?
Yes. So we'll start with my where it all began, buying my first deck story, because it's a short tale, but it's a good one. So in my first experience with card reading was certainly in high school. Friends had decks, we would pull cards and things like that. But the only friend I knew who had a deck had told me that it was a gift from her aunt, and you can't buy your own deck. That someone needs to give you a deck and you can't purchase one yourself. So I carried that for way past its expiration date. And I was considering, like, I was always interested in it in the back of my mind. I was going to university at the time. I was incredibly busy. And I can't say I was sitting there consciously every day thinking, I wish I could buy tarot cards. But it came up, it bubbled up in a few different areas of my life. And when I ended up buying my own deck, this is a cool story. So right before I left on my trip, a girl that I was traveling with, I had gone over to her house, and she had happened to pull out cards for that trip, or pull out cards that night we were getting ready for the trip and talking about it. And I remember her pulling the star card for me for how my trip would go. And I just thinking about that now is very precious. But that was sort of really all of the experience I had with tarot before I got my own deck. On this trip, we were in Italy and in Florence. We were walking along the river, and one of my other passions and deep loves in this life is stationery. Give me some good paper, give me some nice pens, give me like a nice sticker, like just really fine stationery. And we went into the stationery store, and in the back of the stationery store was this cabinet that had tarot cards in them. And I thought they were so beautiful, and I was so sad that I couldn't purchase my own deck. But I was determined that I would, because there was just like, I can't not buy one of these things. And I'm like, why would they sell it in a store if you can't buy it for yourself? Thought it was weird. Went back to my hotel room, hopped on Google, can you buy your own deck? And whatever post I read was changed everything for me. It was basically saying, that's a myth coming from a chunk of time where, there was not tarot cards just for sale, but you had to know somebody who sold them or who could get them for you. And it just traveled on through the ages of not buying your own cards. So I tell this story often because if there is anybody out there that hears my voice saying, buy your own deck, and they are, they haven't done it yet for themselves, go and do it. So I went back the next day, bought my own deck of cards, and I still love that deck very much to this day. But that was a Marseille style pip deck. And I tried learning it for a while, but I was having a hard time figuring out the different systems between illustrated decks and what I was finding online for card meetings and working with the Marseille decks. So I ended up purchasing 2 other decks. One was the Illuminati Tarot, was actually the first illustrated deck I got, and then I got the standard Smith-Waite Centennial Rider-Waite Smith deck shortly thereafter. So those were my first 3 decks. Started reading every book I could find, listening to podcasts, watching videos. I ended up taking courses for a number of years, just really immersing myself. Like, we're talking high levels of obsessed with learning the cards. It was on my way to work, listening on my break, driving home from work, just every chance I got. And I still have this little box of when I had all of my cards used to fit in this one box. And it's just so cute to think about now. So that was, I don't know, about 7 years ago or so at this point. And it's just been something that I have fallen entirely in love with, and I fall more in love with the more I look at this beautiful space and learn from different teachers. I still take courses to this day. I think that if you are not learning, you are, I don't know, you're stagnating in your practice. So I will always read more books. I'll always listen to other readers and practitioners in this space to learn more things. But yeah, it's just been, what was your question? Well, at what age did I start developing? Yes, so that was really when I got cards, and that is what I am sort of tying this whole moment to. So sorry, but yeah, that was sort of my starting point story with the cards. Yeah, it's been a love affair that has lasted since. See, I told you, I just keep going, and I don't stop.
No, that's a good thing. No, don't be so hard on yourself, because I do the same thing sometimes. Like, I've heard it's called the gift of gab, meaning you're able to just connect and just talk. And I feel like people like that make great salespeople. You
We
could
also make good waitresses.
really.
Yes, as the gift of gab myself, and cultivating that to help put myself through school, you get more tips when you are more personable, and it's a cycle that goes back and forth. So yes, that is a gift of gab, and I would say I have that one a little bit. Journey says bartenders. Yes,
Bartenders.
exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone in the service industry, you'll do better.
That's fair. I don't think I could do it. Like, I've never worked retail because I think I would just go berserk. I couldn't do it. I don't think I could waitress because my patience is razor thin. I was actually a receptionist in a pediatrician's office for a time. I didn't last more than 3 months. I was like, nope.
Wow.
I have the gift of gab. I don't have it toward that type of direct service type of industry. I probably am better suited for radio or podcasting, honestly, with the way I'm able to talk about things. People skills, it ain't there. It's not there.
Oh.
It's there in theory. I want it to be there. It's not, though. There are limitations with the gab, I think. But I really do like that you just kind of I like how you address that myth, by the way, that we're told Journey says bunny doesn't people well. No.
Oh.
I feel like I think I told you about this for a minute. You'll find quickly that my social skills, my social battery is very limited. I'm great at my job, but my poor friends will be waiting for like 600 years before I message them back. They know I'm just probably burnt out. They know, they understand. I feel bad for them, but my people skills are not great. My
Oh,
social
I get
battery is
it.
limited.
That's
But
fair.
I love how you address the myth that you have to receive a deck before you're able to start practicing. I've heard that, and I was like, that's kind of stupid. I'm like,
Right.
that's silly,
Absolutely.
because I could just go to Walgreens and probably find a tarot deck at Walgreens. I could go to the
Mhm.
Daggone bookstore, and they're all right there. So how does that make sense? Like, but also I was gifted a deck. I inherited a deck, and then I was gifted a deck, and then I just started buying decks. And that's probably better to buy the deck because you're more connected to it, I feel like.
Agree.
Do
Yeah.
you find that to be true, that you're more connected when you buy your own deck rather than be gifted one?
Yes, but I'll say the only times I've been gifted decks is because it's been like, hey, this is the deck I want. Would you like to buy me this for a particular present? And then I'm gifted something that I asked for. So I've never been gifted a deck that I
Mm,
hadn't already chosen
that's
in
fair.
that sense. So yeah, but I would totally agree. I like to because the market of decks these days is just vast, and there's a lot of different artworks, different styles, different um, I don't know, different association symbolism that I just either don't connect with or I don't understand enough to be able to use the decks. So um, I would agree 100% that if I
Yeah.
picked myself, it's probably because I love it for some particular reason.
That's what I have. That's like, it's kind of, I have an easier time buying decks than deciding to get like a tattoo. A deck you can kind of go through and feel how you want it to feel, and it's good for the moment. You get a
Mhm,
tattoo, it's permanent, you're stuck with it, you cannot take it back.
mhm,
I feel better about buying my own deck because I'm so particular with what I want and what I desire.
mhm.
I feel bad if I get a gift and I don't resonate with it. I've been gifted decks that I just don't use, and I feel so bad sometimes about that. So
Yeah.
I honestly feel like for a lot of people, especially if you're interested in getting in tarot, buy a deck. Just go buy one that feels good, like that you think is cute.
Mhm.
Learn to read it. They do put guidebooks in all the decks. Just try it for yourself and figure it out, and then go from there. I
Yep.
think, yeah,
Completely agree. Absolutely.
yes. So we did kind of go over where your name came from, Cassidy the Card Slinger, because you and your paper crafts, it's just like all the paper, give it to Cassidy. And I also love that you love stationery because I love stationery too.
Good
I don't
station.
like writing a lot because I have arthritis, but I do like looking at the cute things. Um,
Right. Fair enough.
but where did the octopus symbolism for you come from?
Okay,
Like,
so I will color in a little more about the name as well because
mhm,
I I really enjoy old Western movies. And at the time I was picking a business name, my partner and I were watching a lot of old Western movies. And if you know the term gunslinger, it
mhm,
means someone who is incredibly crafted or incredibly skilled with a gun. So I was like, well, if you're incredibly skilled with a gun, you could be incredibly skilled with cards. Now, I did not make this term up. By the
mhm,
time I selected this as my business name, the hashtag cardslinger was already, well established out there in
mhm.
social media. I had not heard it at the time, so I thought it was being kind of sneaky, but it sort of, I don't know, Cassidy the card slinger, just it fit really well, so I liked the way that it sounded. But that's really where the name itself came from. And I was actually at a show a couple of weeks ago where a woman said, is that because you like Western movies? And that she's the first person who's ever understood really where that term came from. The octopus, that is
Mhm.
a fantastic question. Where did that one come from? I mean, who doesn't like an octopus? They are incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent creatures. And oh,
So
hey,
many
Journey.
directions, so little time.
So many directions, so little time.
Very true. Part of it is as a card slinger, slinging as many cards, as many decks
Yes.
as you possibly can. So what can do that better than something with 8 legs? So I don't really know. That's a fantastic question because I've had the business name for significantly longer than I've had the logo done.
Mm,
But when I went to a logo designer, I originally wanted to do, it was like, I originally had an entirely different idea for a logo that I couldn't make it work. And then something, I don't actually know where it came from. I just said, let's do an octopus. And I wanted to have cards in its little legs. And then that's really where that came from.
No, it's cute though, because I like octopuses. They are very cute in their own right.
And
It's
so
the big ones that I'm like, oh, but the itty bitty tiny ones with the itty bitty legs, they're adorable. So I'm gonna be honest, I got the origin of your name wrong because I was like, did you also want to be a casino dealer too?
Hey, perfect. If this doesn't work out, I can shuffle him like nobody else. So
I mean, it's a kind of a nice sideline career because before all of this, I wanted to be a blackjack dealer in a casino. They do it all virtual now. It's not even worth it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I'm like, oh my god, is she like into casinos too? I was very off.
Well, it's fun because now when you start reading playing cards and then you're playing poker and you're like reading your poker hand, and it's like you're looking at it two different ways. You're looking at it from a divination perspective, and you're looking at it from a, well, how is this going to play out statistically from a poker perspective? And it just adds another layer of fun to card games, I would certainly say.
Oh, see, now I also I do read poker cards from time to time. I never thought about that because I haven't played poker in a minute.
Nice.
I'm scared to ask anyone around me to play poker with them because that might go horribly. The only one who could probably play with me is maybe my fiance's dad. He would smoke me immediately. So I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet. Not sure if I'm ready to get iced that way. Yeah. But that's an interesting way to look at it. That's something I never thought about because you're doing divination at the same time you're trying to play poker. And make sure you can win.
You can do crib, blackjack, go fish, crazy eights, any type of card game. Whenever cards are on the table, I am simultaneously playing the game and reading them a little bit too.
Oh my gosh. That's a fun way to look at it. I never thought about that. I'm gonna force my fiance to play some cards with me. I have ideas. I have thoughts. I'm gonna let you know how those go because now I gotta harass them with thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love a follow-up on that one.
I'm just going to be like, Toby, play this game with me right now. He's going to play. So I also wanted to ask a little bit more about your childhood. Like, what kind of, if you had any, did you ever have like paranormal or spiritual experiences when you were growing up?
Yes. A number of them I'll say were either not confirmed or still, and whether this is just my rational brain or objectively, things can have real world explanations to them. Things like we lived in so when I was growing up, I moved all the time. By the time I was 27 years old, I moved 28 times. And by the time I graduated high school, we had moved at least 14 times or so.
Wow.
15 times. Like it was, we moved constantly. Like it was either an annual or biannual? Nope, twice a year type thing. I remember once we even moved next door and we just like took the fence down and moved all the stuff over. But one house in particular it was an older little house. It was a rental we were in for a while. And strange things happened in that house. The vacuum would turn on. You'd hear weird knocks. The door would like swing open on a not windy day. So there's experiences like that I could certainly chalk up to, I don't know, strangeness of an old house. But I can't really say with a lot of certainty that I had a lot of spiritual experiences that I can remember at a young age. I know I've been always a very vivid dreamer. I've had very fascinating recurring dreams. Some that are very disturbing, some that are very interesting. And I the dream interpretation thing, like going online and seeing what certain dreams mean. I've done that, I would say, from a bit of, whenever the internet was available, dial up and the phone, someone would phone the house and the internet would cut out. So it's not, the accessibility we have to looking up stuff like that now. But one experience though, and it was actually after I got my first deck. Later on that trip, I was in Croatia, and I had that deck with me. I was backpacking around with it, and I didn't open it until I got home. I don't know why. I was afraid to, wreck it, or I wanted a nice little ceremony for opening my first deck.
Mhm.
And I had this experience where I was in my bed sleeping, and the girl I was traveling with was also sleeping here. We were like, end to end, and
Mhm.
the skinny little hallway type thing. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I look at her and she's like standing bent over her bed. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she stands up and it turns and it runs right past me out the door. I hear the door close. I see the curtain that was over the door flip up, but I'm looking at the door and I didn't actually see the door move. It was very strange. Then I turn on the light and she's still sleeping in bed. And I'm like, all right, this is wildly creepy. What's going on here? And I checked the front door and the door was locked. So I'm like, there's no way someone actually ran out the door, but it was just like this big, tall, dark figure that was
Mhm.
hovering over her and then pieced out. So that was very freaky. The next day, I
Mhm.
went on a Ghosts and Spirits of Dubrovnik tour with a woman who showed up with a big cloak and she looked like the hermit card and her little lantern, and she walked us around the city and was showing us like different hauntings and different legends and stories of the area. And I asked her about it because I was like, here's what happened. I'm never going to see this woman again. It doesn't matter if she thinks I'm crazy. And there was a very terrible war that had happened there actually not that long ago, and
Mhm.
where we were staying was among one of the areas that had been largely devastated during that time. And she sent me over to a museum of to learn more about it. And as soon as I walked in, there was a general's outfit, or not a general, I think it was more just like a soldier's outfit, uh,
Mhm.
that was up on the wall, and that is 100% what the figure was wearing. And it was very interesting. I didn't feel scared. Like, well, I wasn't scared. I think I was kind of rattled about it. I didn't feel like it was threatening or harmful or dark or negative or anything. He was just kind of looking at her and then saw me and left. But that is probably the only uh, paranormal experience that I have had. That one sticks with me because
Mm.
right after I bought my first deck, and it was a very interesting experience. So that's
Ooh.
what I have for that question.
I wonder though, do you feel like when you bought your first deck, do you think you maybe kind of opened up something else within you potentially?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Yeah, for sure. Because I had never had and I was not sleeping. Like, this was not a
Right.
vivid dream moment. Like, I was sitting up in bed and then I just reached over and turned the light on. So I knew I was awake in what I was seeing. But it potentially, like, there's something that could have lined up at
Mhm.
that time. I've really got to check with our resident astrologer around that date and time and see if there's anything peculiar going on in my
Yeah.
chart and in the skies when that happened. Now I'm very curious. But you're very right. It certainly could have been something that changed at that time.
That's possible because it just maybe I almost okay, so I have an observation maybe. And
Mhm.
you can either entertain or deny my thoughts because I think too much on a regular basis.
No, I
I'm
love
not
it.
the super logical person, but I do overthink like it's a job. But I almost wonder because you're such an analytical, logical type of person and you approach things from a very logic based perspective, do you almost not overly deny, but kind of negate experiences as, maybe not a spiritual experience, but just a strange happening in the moment? Maybe some of those dreams and experiences you had are, have you ever thought are more than just dreams and just like random little happenings? Do you feel there's that spiritual connection there?
Yeah, I mean that's a fantastic question, and I think a very key observation on your part. I Yeah, I mean, so I would think of things. I would say statistically speaking, there are folks who would like to see things as spiritual no matter what they are, and then there's people who would never see the spiritual side of something and just think things are coincidences and are
Mhm.
always there's always an explanation for everything. I would say I try to fall somewhere in the middle on that spectrum, but
Mhm.
if there's an easy way to explain it, if there genuinely was a wind and something moved out at night, like, I'd want to try and keep the what feel more like a realistically spiritual happening
Mhm.
or an unexplained event. I am all the way on board with defining it that way, as
Mhm.
long as I first at least ruled out some of the, because who doesn't want to have some kind of cool spiritual unexplained experience. So I don't want to just throw something in that bucket unless
Mhm.
I really feel that is probably what happened there. So, but that's a really good point. I probably have in the past explained away things, but I mean, they're not powerful enough. So give me something better.
That's fair. You need spirit to come down and just throw something off the wall and be like, see, here's your sign. That would be horrifying. Oh my God. Nah, don't. That happened to me before with a painting. Don't. I don't think you want that one.
No, I'm not asking it, but
No, let's just not cause the stress. I don't know why my spirit guides like to throw things at me, but too much. They threw a painting at me. It was like on the wall and it just fell. And I'm like, on my head. And I'm like, wow, that's rude. Sometimes we ask spirit for too much and they really deliver when you don't need them to.
That's funny. Oh my goodness.
So now I have to ask, between your spiritual life and your professional life, because we've obviously gotten the vibe that this isn't all you do. Your brain is, I feel like you constantly like learning about anything and everything. You give me the impression of someone who reads a lot, studies a lot, maybe kind of analyzes things a lot, and that's nice because I like that. But do you find, or do you how are you kind of able to maintain this balance between the spiritual side of you and the more professional aspects of your life?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. To me, they balance each other out very well. It's almost similar to, you're either working out and training or you're resting.
Right.
For me, it's either like I've got a scientific problem, or what I do during the day. It's, you can even say the left brain, left brain, right brain sort of argument. And I don't know, I find that even if I work for the day and then I come and do readings in the evening, or whatever combination there of that I'm experiencing for a day, even if I'm drained by one, I won't necessarily be drained by the other. Although I will say when I'm spiritually drained, I've got nothing left to give this world. Like if it's been a very busy day and a show of readings all day, like there's no way I can re-tap into the other side of myself. Like spiritual draining, someone who has experienced it is a special type of in bed by 8 o'clock with Golden Girls and a cup of tea, and you're watching that until you fall asleep. So to me, I find that they complement each other very well. I often get the question of, how do you believe in that crap? When people hear about, what I do on the other side of the token. And anyone who is scientific minded thinks of things largely in a way of, okay, you're going to observe something, you're going to collect data about something, and then you're going to pass judgment on the analysis that you have from said data, whether or not you think there is something significant there, or what is your conclusion based on the study that you've done. And that's really how I came to tarot. I was like, all right, let's do this. I started playing with cards. I started giving myself readings, giving other people readings. And all of a sudden I was saying stuff that was true, saying stuff that happened, saying things that no one has told me. And I'm looking at this like, it doesn't really matter if I don't know how or why it works, but the fact that it does means that it deserves my attention. If I had tried tarot, I was always wrong. It was never useful. I probably would have put it back down again. But as someone who the proof was in the pudding right in front of me, this stuff works. And what I'm doubly fascinated about is how many interpretations there are of how that works, whatever people come to as their spiritual understanding, what divine powers they are communicating with, or what they think happens after death, or what their, I don't know, mental cosmology is of how the universe works, and how it doesn't really matter what you believe, but these cards can show up for everyone. And it's fascinating. So it was a quote, and I really wish I could remember who said it. But I'll just say it here. It was really fascinating. It's one of the greatest things I think I've heard. Was they were talking about religion, and they were talking spirituality, and they were talking about what truth is. And he defined it as truth is the missing puzzle piece in the middle. And all of the world's religions and spiritualities are the puzzle pieces around it that define what the edges look like. So you know what that missing puzzle piece looks like because it's defined by its edges, but truth is somewhere in the middle. So I think there is space for every belief system in working with the cards. And it's just really fascinating how, if I can do it, if lots of other people can do it, it's, it's something you can trust. It's useful. Why not? Like it's amazing. Blows my mind.
Oh my God. I love where you were taking that, because it's true. It's really true that there is kind of on one end of the spectrum, let's call it the left brain end of the spectrum, there's this very, oh, how could you, believe in something like this? It's foolish. But we know as a people, the world is not that black and white. It is not. There's black, white, and a little bit of gray in between. And I almost feel like spirituality is that gray in between. So it's kind of like if we could put the left brain and the right brain people together and just make it make sense, we get somewhere. This is why.
Yeah. Totally.
It's like, it's interesting because you are very, I feel like the word that came to mind, and I could be using this word wrong, is maladaptive. You're very in between. You're not on one super end of the spectrum. You're not on the other the end of the spectrum really hard. You're weirdly in the middle, where I'm more of I'm very much a right brain thinker. I'm very much a creative, but also I try and stay in the middle, but I can't fully stay in the middle.
Right.
But it's like, I find it so interesting and really cool how you're able to blend those two aspects of who you are and make it your truth. Because I think there's a lot of justification in what you said about how the truth is somewhere in the middle, and all the religions and the mythology we have just form the edges of outside, or like of everything we know on the outside. And there's a deeper picture inside. I love that. I would love to explore that, but I don't think we'll get there in my lifetime. I don't think we'll get there just yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah, it's more enough. Everybody has their own contribution with what piece of the puzzle that they're working with. So
I love that, because I've always said, it doesn't matter what you believe in. You could believe in the flying spaghetti monster. It does not matter. It all has a basis. It all has it. If it feels right for you, it is right. Who am I to tell you that you're wrong?
Yeah.
I think how you treat others in that regard, who may not feel that way 100%, doesn't matter. But I really like this notion that they're all interconnected and they all form this bigger picture that we just haven't connected the dots to yet. Cassidy, we would probably sit down and spend like 3 hours having this really deep conversation, and you would have to deal with me asking 700 questions.
Oh, this is awesome.
It'd be like me and Journey, where I could probably just pick his brain, him and Squirrel, just pick for like hours. Because you have the analytical knowledge that I wish in a way that I could have, that I do have, but it cannot fully be applied because of the type of person I am. And that's no knock on me. That's just me as a person. I know exactly where my strengths lie. So I love my other analytical friends who can kind of bring that perspective in. I would talk your face off for 100 years.
Why would yours, my darling? I think we could really have some incredible conversations for sure.
We definitely will, because we're going to do more of this in the future. So we're definitely going to have conversations, because I love that you have this balance. But how do you de-stress? Like you work one professional career, you work the spiritual career. How do you de-stress? Because I know this is tiring. I know this is a lot. Like, how do you do it?
Well, I would say I am known as one of those people who doesn't know how to relax until my body is literally, and I'm not proud of that. That is, don't be like that. If you resonate with that sentence, we all need to fix ourselves. Like, we can't, it's unsustainable. And that's something I'm really trying to work on, particularly strongly within the last year or so, is just living in a way that is sustainable as often as possible. Life is going to throw all kinds of things on you. You're going to have weeks where just everything is go, go, go. But I mean, in a bigger picture, I want to just live in a way that is sustainable. So how do I de-stress and balance things? Living, I would say, what is traditionally a healthy lifestyle. I'm talking eat well where I can, try and eat and as nutritious as possible. Going to the gym and training doing any type of exercise. I paddleboard in the summer. Camping is one of the best ways to just disconnect from the world. Camping with tarot cards is just so great. Or books and things like that. Spending time outside, going for a walk in the middle of the day or in nature, just whatever I need. If I need to be either an active mode of de-stressing or a non-active mode of de-stressing, reading a book, you're bang on with that. I do love to read. I have cats that I love to cuddle more than anything else. Watch a TV show here and there. But I like to, I don't know, even in my downtime, I try to be productive in some form. So like either doing a workout, reading a book, going, I like to always have a sense of not just accomplishment, but having, there's a difference that I was here today, that if I wasn't here today, it wouldn't have been the same as if it was cut off by yesterday, if that makes sense. But yes, I am whatever you need to de-stress. It works different for everyone. Sometimes I need to run or dance or just get it out. And other times I just need to couch potato.
I feel that. See, you're better than me because I don't go to the gym. I don't. It's people.
Understandable. Yeah, for sure.
People. I'm more of a video gamer, sit at home, do nothing, maybe go on a walk around the neighborhood. But I am also the same, where I am constantly in motion, even though my body does not like me being in constant motion because I have a lot of chronic pain. I constantly have to be in motion. And I think it's because I spent so much of my life just sitting down. And so now I don't have great ways to distress. So I like that question because now I get to kind of like, okay, she has a point. So she slows her life down by force. And that's what it seems like. It's like, not that you live a slow life, but you know how to slow it down when you need to. I need that skill.
I'm really trying. I got things like sand timers around the house where it's like, okay, 20 minutes. I need to like do something for myself. Or, I'm trying to live sustainably as much as possible. That's the goal.
I like that though. I love that though. Cassidy, you are awesome. I'm so happy we finally got to talk. I love this. It only took, months.
Yes, I know. My gosh, I've had this great series going on since September. So I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad. Now we do have time for audience member questions. So anyone in the audience, if you guys want to ask our beautiful Cassidy, the card slinger, a question, go ahead and drop a question for her. And let's see. Gemma wants to ask, how does your partner words. I'm going to get English right together. How does your partner and family think of your abilities? Yeah. There we go.
Great question, Gemma. Yeah. So my dad, when I started, was one of those how can you believe in that crap type things. My mom was very interested in it. Like she watches tarot videos online, and she's been more interested. It's not that either of them weren't accepting at all. They were just, huh, really? Like you with the path you've been on? Like it just seems really so I was closeted from my family for a very short period of time. And then they're all supportive and happy with it. I get my different members I read for my family a lot, like at family reunions and stuff. I'll be there with my cards or doing readings for my family. So a good chunk of my family is really excited about it. I don't have anyone in my family that has, I don't have any weird disowning energy or anyone who disapproves of it. Really, everyone has been supportive and interested and fascinated by it. And my partner is just the best man in the whole wide world. So whatever makes me happy would make him happy. He asks questions, how his fishing trip's gonna go or things like that. I'm like, I ask him all the time, what do you want a reading? Like, I got a new deck. What do you want a reading about? And he's like, no, I don't want a reading. I'm like, people want readings. Like, you not care. But no, he's just an absolute, I adore the man so much. And he's very supportive. I've got nothing but love. Just, the only thing he has to say is like, if you keep buying them, like, where are they going to go? And that's just good sense.
That's all of our partners' biggest concerns. Where are we going to put the paraphernalia? Where are we going to put our cards?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm very fortunate. I have a very supportive and excited family about it. And they trust what I have to say. Quick side story. Like when my dad had lost his keys a while ago and I had done a card reading and I went and found them for him. And I found a missing cell phone in the ocean. as well. So my dad always asked me, he's like, can you run the cards? Like he was in Vegas like a few weeks ago and he's like, how am I going to do at this poker tournament? And I'm like, honestly, it's not looking so good. And he's like, well, what do I need to do? Like, where do I need to go? What slot machines do I need to look for? And I'm like laying cards and he always asks me if I can run the cards for him. And it's the sweetest thing. So like my family like really trusts in my ability to do it. I'm very, very blessed.
Oh my God. Look, your dad's on the right idea. You have a child with these skills. Utilize them. We will help you. I like that. He had to call you from Vegas, like, hey, help.
He did, yeah, and it was no good. I didn't see him doing well, and he unfortunately didn't. So
that sucks. But he's gonna get there eventually. He's gonna get it.
100%.
Kelly wants to know, Cassidy, before you begin a reading for anyone, do you ask them for a question?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Man, both from the various teachers that I have learned from, that, you know, there is no divination without a question. And I agree with that quite wholeheartedly. And it's, of course, you don't need a question to give someone a reading. There are different spreads you can do. There are different things you can tap into. But for me, my worst nightmare is when someone comes to me and says, what do I need to know right now? Like, I just can do it. And I've had a lot of great feedback. But for me personally, it's like my best skills are going to come forward if I have a question and I have a context to apply what it is that we're talking about. Because whenever you're giving a reading, there is some time limit, you know, whether we're doing a 2-minute reading on the show or we're doing, you know, a longer reading up to an hour and a half. It's like, I can read a ton of stuff in a certain amount of time, but I don't like, even if I can't read your whole life in an hour. I can read a good chunk of it. So it also just brings to mind the whole, what you put into a reading, you get out of it. So if someone comes with a question, you're also getting that energetically behind them as well with what they want to know. They've thought about that question and that's sort of their contribution. And it also, this is not the right way to think about it, but like in what other profession is it appropriate to come to a professional without any level of direction on your part? Like, do you go to your mechanic and say, there's something wrong with my car, you're the mechanic, you should know? And it's like, well, he's going to go through your whole car and he's going to charge you by the hour to do it and he's going to find the problem. Instead, you could have just came in and said, you know, the brakes aren't working. You know, so and I maybe need to stop looking at it that way, but there is an element of respect that I feel when someone comes to me with a question, that it's like, okay, you are respectful of my time, my service is what I need from you. And then I can give you what you're looking for and make sure you go home with what you need. So I prefer a question, Kelly. Yes.
No, I like that, especially at the end, talking about how it is so easy. It's easier to give us like a little bit of a diagnostic history, if we want to call it that, before answering. Even for me, I like a question or a hone in on something instead of just a general, because I can give you a general, but it doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel good. I like, give me something direct to work with. Give me an idea. So I relate. I like that.
And then it also like it ensures that they don't leave unhappy with their service, right? Yes. It's like they want to know, what do I need to know about? And there's a disaster going on in their work, but they really wanted to know if they're going to meet someone. It's like, just ask me that. I'm not going to judge you for asking me that. I want to know what's on your heart. Share it with me and we can look into it together.
Yeah. We don't get paid to judge you. We get paid to help you. That's the part. Totally. Squirrel wants to know. Yeah, Miss Squirrel. She asks, does being able to read your cards divination help with your poker game? Have you ever experienced that?
Great question. And I can't say it's necessarily helped, but I can often, you know, if I'm the dealer for the round and I'm usually shuffling, I will just quickly lay like a couple cards for everyone playing. It's like, how is either this hand going to go? How is this round going to go? Who's going to win the pot at the end of the night? Like I usually will almost do a separate designated divination quickly before we get started. And then I'll pick up the cards and then we shuffle and we go and do the thing. But often what I will find, Squirrel says, perfectly said. I think that was from what I last said, but thank you, Squirrel. What I will often find is like, you know, if you're playing Texas Hold'em and you've got like a set on the table for everyone, it's like there's some kind of message in there that I will say usually has nothing to do with the game. It usually has something to do with either someone there or something that is going on in the world. So I can't say that reading playing cards has ever helped my poker game. Unfortunately, like I'm not counting cards, but it adds like another layer of interest when we have got the cards on the table. So, great question though, Squirrel. That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Hey, Cassie, you don't realize how talking to you about card games has like bloomed this little idea in my head. And I'm gonna have to tell you afterwards because I don't want to say it out loud yet because we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
But I'm gonna let you know. There's something just a swirling in here. Squirrel asks, can you tell if someone is bluffing from the cards? That'd be a hella skill. Yeah, it would.
That would be an amazing skill. I mean, if I was laying cards on someone, I could probably see if they were bluffing and or lying. But you know, usually that is where your either intuitive or empathic abilities come into play, and you're just looking at the person. Even the people who are the most stone cold, you know, no tells, will have something going on. If it's even just like the way that you can see their mind working in that moment. I can't say like a specific set from what I can see in someone's hand tells if they're bluffing. But yes, that's a great question as well. That would be an amazing skill.
I want that skill. Just for everyday life.
Definitely.
Like I've gotten into the habit of like bringing a pendulum to the grocery store or to the store and like, should I buy this? Like,
you know,
I gotta use my skills for something.
100%. I did that with my a friend of mine. She had bought a paddleboard and opened it up at home, and it had like there was water damage in it, and it was bad shape. So we went and returned it. Went back to buy another one the next day, and there was like a whole bunch of boxes of paddleboards. And I had my cards with me, and I have a picture of it. I laid cards on every single box that was available, and I'm like, which one should we buy? And then that one. She got home, opened it, perfect. It's been great all summer, no problems. So yeah.
Oh no, I'm about to be that girl at Walmart.
Yeah.
Can't wait. My fiance is gonna be like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
You're seeing which one's the best, darling.
Exactly. We got to make sure our money and investments are going to the right place. I'm going to get on everyone's nerves. So now I'm going to start doing that.
Yes, definitely.
Oh my goodness. We have run out of time for the day, everybody. But Cassidy, I'm so happy I finally got to talk to you. This was awesome. My energy is now back. Like,
yay,
thank you for letting me siphon off you a little bit.
Anytime, my darling. This was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was so much fun. And I can't wait till we get to have our next conversation very, very soon, in the next few weeks or whenever we get the schedule together. But I want to thank you all so much for being here. And you all can catch Cassidy. Cassidy, let them know your show times when they can find you.
Yes. Hi, Cassidy the Card Slinger. Tune in on Thursday nights. It is at 7 o'clock Pacific time, which is 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Thursday night. And I will sling cards till the cows come home, but it is it is a 1 hour show. So definitely check out my show on Thursdays, and I will see you guys next then.
Yeah. Yes. And you can also catch her on the My Psychic Connection YouTube channel because you do shorts every day, the card of the day, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yes. Go watch her cards of the day because I like the cards of the day. Everyone needs a card every single day. So make sure you check out Cassidy. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for attending our little interview segments. Don't forget, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Kay the Intuitive and Journey Ryan with, I believe tonight is, oh shoot, no, I did that really wrong. That's cool. I'm like lost in the sauce. My brain is in space. But Kay's show is tonight at 10 o'clock. Journey won't be there. Maybe you may hear his voice, but I don't think he's going to be there like that. But 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Kay the Intuitive Empath. And then at midnight, you can catch Journey Ryan live. Woo! Yeah, Kathy, the energy is back and we're done.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, darling. This was a blast.
Oh, thank you so much for coming, and thank you guys so much. I will see you all again on Wednesday for Down the Rabbit Hole at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good night, everybody. We love you, and thank you for helping organize this chaos today with me.